Hello everybody, JGC Anime here, and today we are going to be reviewing Demon Slayer Season 2. So, yeah, let's just hop right into this. So, I am going to be spoiling a few things from Season 1, so if you haven't seen Season 1, I wouldn't recommend watching this video. I don't know why you'd be watching this video if you hadn't seen Season 1, but yeah. Let's just talk about Season 2's, setup. So, Season 2 takes place right after Season 1, where the first 7 episodes are a setup for the Mugen Train movie, which I reviewed a little while back, which basically the first 7 episodes are just a complete redo of those. They weren't really redos, they were just the movie cut into episodic form. And yeah, that's just where the whole thing starts. It starts with the movie, with the Mugen Train storyline, and then the rest of the season is a whole new story. So yeah, if we're gonna skip past the train arc, we then go to a entertainment district with a new Hashira. Since in the last part, one of the Hashira dies, bit of a spoiler, and we now focus on a new Hashira, who I will talk about in a bit. But yeah, anyway, let's just hop right into this. That was a terrible story summary, but I'm gonna roll with this. Okay, so what are some things I kind of like and dislike about this season? For one, I actually give it a lot of credit for making me kind of like the movie. When I watched the original movie, I found it to be an odd beginning, an okay middle, a decently good end, but also a not amazing end because it ended before I wanted it to. One thing I think this season definitely did was it took the Mugen Train arc, made it a bit longer, and it was just long enough for me to feel satisfied. They had a beginning episode that kind of introduced us to the former Hashira, or the dead Hashira, Rengoku, and after that they go over a few other things. We go to see other things that I can't really describe without spoiling. I'll talk about that in the spoiler section of this review. But I like how they took the time to kind of build it out this time around, since it was an episodic form, so I didn't have to worry as much about not getting everything I wanted, and it definitely fixed up the arc. Episode 1, which was its own episode before we moved on to the Mugen Train arc, as well as Episode 8, which was the continuation after this, gave me the satisfying ending I wanted to Mugen Train, and I felt like it really built off it and made it a lot better. Even though I didn't think the movie was phenomenal, this made it a lot better. It made me feel a lot more comfortable watching it, and I think it was definitely a great change that, because it was a season rather than a movie, it didn't feel rushed and it felt very developed, and I liked it a lot. And it gave me a new perspective on the movie, which made me think, yeah, this actually wasn't terrible. It actually was quite enjoyable. And after that, we got the next arc afterwards, which is the Entertainment District, which honestly I think was probably the better half of the two, but we can talk about that in the spoiler section. But in terms of what I like and dislike about characters, there are some new characters, such as we now focus on a new character called Tengen, who is the Hashira that our main characters Tanjiro, Inosuke, and Zenitsu work with in this arc. And he's pretty fun. I don't love him, but I do like him. I think he is a very good Hashira, and I respect him as a character, especially since he's one of the few times I've ever seen a character besides the main protagonist have a harem, which is very respectable because that's normally not how these things go. And as I like to say before, I still think Inosuke is my favorite character in Demon Slayer. He's so much fun, and the energy he has is just so much better than everybody else in the group, and I just think he is just fantastic. Honestly, though, what surprised me the most was definitely Zenitsu in this season. He was a lot better, and I think that was mainly due to the fact of something I'm gonna probably talk about in the spoiler section. It's probably gonna be a long spoiler section, but Zenitsu in this season was definitely, once we got past the Mugen Train arc in the Entertainment District, he was a lot better, and I again can talk about that in the spoiler section. Tanjiro is just more of the same. He's fine. He's not terrible. He's just the kind of protagonist that is innocent enough on his own and just kind of eh. And Nezuko was great too, of course. Nezuko was amazing. And yeah, the villains for the most part are fine. In this arc, in the second arc, we're introduced to the character Daki along with something else that I'm not going to talk about till the spoiler section. But yeah, there's a lot I'd have to spoil. So, but trying to avoid anything else, I'm going to go into some spoiler-free thoughts. where spoiler-free thought-wise, I actually enjoyed the season more than I did season 1. Season 1, I felt like it kind of dragged on. It didn't really feel like it was really going anywhere. And this season had those moments too. However, it wasn't as bad. In fact, things, for the most part, were very well paced. And while I did think there were some things that could have been less stretched out, and there's some things that could have been more stretched out, I still found myself enjoying it a lot more than I did season 1. And I understand why people like this season, because it actually is pretty good. But enough trying to avoid spoiling anything, so here's a timestamp to when the spoiler section of this review, which we're about to enter, will come to its conclusion. So if you haven't seen the season, I wouldn't recommend sticking around for this part, but if you have, I would recommend sticking around, since I do like hearing other people's thoughts in the comments. So yeah, I'm gonna count down from 5 and talk about it. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so the first thing to talk about is Zenitsu. The reason I didn't hate him as much in this arc, like in this storyline, because in the entertainment district, since he's still quite annoying in Mugen Train, I still hate him in that, is that in the entertainment district arc, which that's what I'm going to refer to it as, he's asleep for a majority of it. He's very like tired, I guess you could say. Like, he's asleep throughout the majority of the arc, and that I appreciate, because as much as I hate like awake Zenitsu, asleep Zenitsu is absolutely phenomenal. I really like his character in that. Tanjiro, again, he's fine. He does a few things that, you know, Tanjiro's Tanjiro. He's a nice guy who's really cool, quote unquote, because that's how the character is meant to be designed, but he's also meant to be kind-hearted and innocent. Then there's also the demons in this arc. I'm not going to include characters like Akaza, I think that's what his name is, the upper rank guy. I'm only going to talk about the characters Daki and Gyutaro, I think that's how it's pronounced, where it's two siblings who are combined as an upper rank, and I honestly didn't really mind them at first. Like, I thought Daki was an interesting enough villain on her own, but then we got her brother, who her brother is, I can't really say I like him. Like, I really don't like him. Not in the sense of who he is personality-wise. In fact, I think the story between him and his sister is very, very sad. I just really hate his voice. Like, I watched this dubbed, and I thought his voice was annoying as heck in dub. And so I thought, oh, maybe it sounds different in the sub? Nope, it sounds just as annoying in the sub, so that didn't really change my opinion on anything. It was just, I get that was the whole concept, that his voice was annoying, his face was ugly, that was his whole thing. But it did irritate me a slight bit with the constant voice cracked like voice deaf, which it was very irritating. And I felt like the fight, I said that things sometimes would drag on, and there were times I wish things would drag on, and that was probably how much time the main characters actually spent in the entertainment district. In the actual storyline, they're only really disguised because they go to the entertainment district to pretend to be women, to hide there so that way they can try to find the demon that they're looking for, which, you know, is Daki. However, they end up finding her and battling her like 2 to 3 episodes in, or maybe 4 episodes in, I don't know. And that fight goes on for the rest of the season. That's literally the whole rest of the season. It's all just one massive fight. And that upsets me because I really enjoyed the idea of them just spending time there, just relaxing before the big fight. But no, we just gotta skip straight past all of that and just head straight for the big fight. Which, I get it, undercover stuff isn't exactly something you should constantly try to develop, but it did make me upset. And then when the fight dragged on for so long, I definitely could say that I wasn't a big fan of it. However, there's one thing I can say. I absolutely loved the last 2 episodes of this season, episode 17 and episode 18. I loved them. Although episode 17 more than episode 18, because it was freaking incredible. It was just astounding how good it was. I was constantly rooting, even though I'm not a big fan of Tanjiro. When I saw him battling against the demon and him trying to cut its neck off, I was literally shouting at myself like, come on, Tanjiro, you've got this! And I was just constantly rooting for him because I wanted to see him succeed. Like, there was just such an intensity to the scene, and I loved it because it was just like the spark inside of me. It was the first time I'd ever consider Demon Slayer was actually something I wanted to see accomplish something. Like, the first time I ever wanted to see Tanjiro do something. Everything up to this point, I was just like, okay, yeah, you go this. Yeah, you go. Yeah, you can do this, Tanjiro, whatever. But this was the first time I was actually like wide-eyed, like cheering Tanjiro on. And then when Tengen joined in on the fights and everything else just got insane because it looked like everything was against the wall at this point, it was just fantastic. It was amazing. I can genuinely say that this definitely made season 2 a heck of a lot better. Like, I have never seen a season 2 or any season whatsoever of a show make this strong of a comeback in just 2 episodes. Granted, its ending was not nailed, as neither did season 1's ending really nail. I mean, season 1's was fine, but it seems like ever since the movie, Demon Slayer's had a thing of making awkward endings. Like, I like endings to shows where it feels like there might be more, but it doesn't feel like that's just that. One thing I didn't like about the movie was how they immediately cut straight to black after Rengoku died in the movie, or in the season technically. I didn't like that. That's why I immediately tried to sit down and watch episode 8, which was the episode that continued that storyline, because it gave us so much more satisfying conclusion to that storyline that it made me wish they kept it in the movie. It would have been better if it ended with Rengoku's dad crying because he was sad that his son died. That would have been a way better way to end the movie than it would have been with just him dying at the end. I just feel like Demon Slayer has this awkward thing where it always ends at the wrong moment. And other than that, I can say, though, I actually found the last 2 episodes to be highly respectable, and I thought they were phenomenal. As for the rest of the season, it's fine. It's better than season 1. I will give it that. I really did like it, but I wouldn't put it as like some god tier story. I definitely, again, that's not what Demon Slayer is meant to be. It's meant to be a simple story that has some amazing animation, which again, I'm fine with that. I don't know if I said that before, but basically I feel like I can't really get into the story even if the animation is good unless the story itself can be truly compelling. It's why I love the first half of Sword Art Online Season 1 so much. Like, the story, despite its flaws, was so, like, interesting that when I was watching, I couldn't look away. I felt like when I was watching, it was everything I wanted in a story like that. But then Demon Slayer is just kind of like, action this, action that, where its story isn't terrible, but it doesn't have the type of thing I'm looking for. It's not terrible, and I'm glad I sat down and watched it, because again, the last 2 episodes of this season were absolutely incredible, and I'd happily just rewatch those 2 episodes on their own, because they were that good. But when you consider the rest of the season, it's a little unsatisfying. Like, I'm trying to look at this through a perspective of how is the whole season, not just how are the last 2 episodes. And for a majority of the season, I wasn't really thinking much. I was just like, okay, cool. This, fine. I guess that works. And there were a few issues I had too, such as Tengen's wives. Tengen has 3 wives. He has a harem, which honestly I kind of respected the man for, but they weren't really explored. They were basically kind of like, what if the main Demon Slayer trio were girls and didn't have too much character to them. They weren't terrible, but they didn't do much in the long run. And I just found myself questioning why they kind of existed, because they didn't do almost anything. They had like 1 cool entrance and then didn't do anything else for the rest of the, well, one of them did something, but the rest of them just kind of like sat in the background doing a bit of fighting, but didn't do much else than that. And I just found myself a little, how do I put this? Unsatisfied, I guess you could say. I felt like they could have had more to their characters. I felt like they could have done more. The one who did the most was probably the Tanjiro, like, act-alike, where she fires, like, these special types of kunai weapons, I don't know what they're called, at one of the demons to make it so he can't regenerate, which was a decent enough idea, but I was starting to wonder, where the heck did she get that giant thing? Because it was like a giant bazooka-like weapon that just shot a bunch of them. And I was like, where the heck did you get that thing? It's not even explained. It's just like she just randomly has it. Just logic, I guess, in that world. I guess that it's just that. I just wish that they got more development. And I also wish Inosuke was able to get more screen time, because he has like one or two major things focused on his own character, and that's about it. Which, granted, those things are phenomenal. In fact, I really like how much he does do. But it feels a little unsatisfying that he's not the main character, because he has so much more of a personality than Tanjiro that it makes him my favorite character, and I feel like he definitely steals the show, at least to me. And yeah. All in all, though, a majority of the season just wasn't fit for me. I didn't like it that much, but if I did have to say one thing, it definitely did a few things right. Like fixing the Mugen Train arc, it definitely made what felt like a rather unsatisfying movie feel a lot more satisfying. It definitely helped me like take in the movie, and it also helped with the idea that the first episode at the start of the second arc of the Entertainment District arc, it honestly was a great beginning, ending the Mugen Train arc quite satisfyingly, and then setting up for the next arc. I thought it was going to be a really interesting arc. Again, I do wish they spent more time in the Entertainment District just living there and understanding the people there before just cutting straight to the action, but I guess that's just how it rolls. There are also a few things I had some complaints with, like Nezuko randomly powering up. I get that's how it's supposed to be in shows like this. They're meant to just randomly power up because the power of love or friendship or anger or something. I mean, sometimes those work, but other times they're just like, yeah. And then there's just that random moment at the end where after Tanjiro cuts off the demon's neck, like one of the upper ranked demon's necks, it then the body then explodes, and then the explosions, I'm guessing, is stopped by Nezuko for some reason. I mean, it doesn't explain it. That's one thing I kind of have a problem with Demon Slayer. It doesn't really explain too much. It tries to keep things in the dark, which I get, seem to have like a mystery around it. But I felt like Nezuko's powers were never exactly explained, and I do wish they were explained a bit more. But even though I wish they did do that, I'm not against suspending my disbelief just to, because, you know, they're demons. I'm already suspending my disbelief enough. I'm willing to just kind of make that an exception, because even though I do have a complaint about that, that's just how it crumbles. That's just how it is. And overall, I still think this wasn't a terrible season. I think it definitely was a lot better than season 1. Despite being shorter, it was better. And it did do the one thing season 1 didn't do. Ended in a way that made me almost like fall in love with the story. Like, I still don't love Demon Slayer, but this season made me think this might be worth my time. This might be worth sitting down and watching all the way through. And I am glad I did so, because it was a much better season. And despite all its problems, I still think it was way better than anything season 1 or the movie had to offer, even if the movie's technically part of the season. But yeah, we're at the conclusion of this video. And what are my final thoughts? It's pretty good. I don't think every aspect of it is the best thing ever, but I do like a lot of it. For one, it was the first time I could ever say the demons, which of course they had backstories. The demons always have backstories in these. It was the first time I ever felt for the demons' backstory. Up to that point, I didn't really care that much about the demons' backstories, but this was the first season that made me care about the demons' backstories. And overall, the characters were enjoyable, and I didn't have any problems with it. And while I wasn't entirely enthralled just by the action, I still think the story was quite solid, and that's why I've got to give Demon Slayer Season 2 an 8 out of 10. Much better than Season 1, and honestly, I did enjoy it quite thoroughly. And I especially like to thank the last 2 episodes, which were both incredible. They were both so good that honestly, it made me really want to check out more of this show, and I'm happy I sat down and watched it. So yeah, that's all I really have to say. Thank you all for watching. If you're new to the JGC Anime channel, don't forget to subscribe. I always welcome new anime fans to the channel. And if you have anything to say to me in the comments, I more than welcome people saying things in the comments. So yeah, I guess that's all I really have to say. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you all around. Peace!